So let's say you've had an awakening. You've had a shift in your identity, a significant alteration in how you experience yourself, in how you experience thought and consciousness. Maybe you've gone through the honeymoon phase and you find yourself in a place where you're not sure if there's more to do. You're not sure if you need to do some work or just relax, whether the process is going to continue to play out or it's already fully played out. You hear non-duality speakers say things like, it's just this, the flow of life. There's no one, there's no doer, nothing to do. There's just the character. All of this. And so you don't really know. Should I investigate? Should I look into something? Or should I just go on about life and forget about the whole thing? If you're honest with yourself and you find that something just doesn't feel complete, it feels like something's still lingering, something might be left to do. There's still some sort of holding, or there's a dryness, a sort of spiritual desert. You don't feel deeply connected, but you feel like the mind is reasonably quiet. If any of this is true, which is all very common, then there are a couple areas I would suggest you look into. One is reactivity and contraction. If you feel like you contract with various experiences, or you feel internal reactions to external experiences, events, and situations, then there's definitely something you can do. Whether you should do it or not is really up to you. But when there's latent reactivity or occasional reactivity, and we just sort of overlook it, we have to become fastidious into looking into where and when we react and why. So we have to be on alert, pay attention. What is it that causes you to react? What is it that causes you to believe that that person, that situation, shouldn't be doing what it's doing, or should be doing what it's not doing? This can be simple, mundane experiences such as driving in traffic. If you really believe that car shouldn't have done that, the driver should or should not have acted this way or that way, you feel it. You feel a contraction to that. You feel anger building. Even if there's not overt or intense anger, there's some reaction to another person or their behavior or the situation. So this is all reactivity, and you can look into it. I have a whole playlist on equanimity that has many different approaches to track down what the beliefs are, to find the gap between what's actually happening and what the interpretation that's habituated in your mind believes should be happening. How to find that raw discomfort, how to find the squirminess, and then what to do, how to look once you're there, how to investigate. There are many ways to do this, and the playlist has a lot of suggestions. Other approaches are inquiry around emotions and beliefs, especially in regard to others. Byron Katie has a lot of good material on this. So that's the first area I would look into. Now, if you feel like you've truly realized equanimity, where whatever happens in the moment is perfectly okay, not just mentally, you don't just tell yourself it's okay even if you're reacting, but you're actually not reacting. You feel truly in sync with whatever's happening. You only take reference about what should be happening from what is happening. So if there's equanimity and flow essentially all the time, then that's great. The next area I would look into is whether you're experiencing gross separation. Gross separation is the sense of a subject and an object being separate. Subject being you, object being objects in the room, the sky, the dog, the chair, the floor, your hands. Now, it's important when looking into this to not A, overthink it, or B, zoom in so far into your immediate or direct experience, like a sensation or a sound, that you overlook the simple fact that it does seem like everything is separate. You're separate from that over there. Like you're a physically separate entity walking through a three-dimensional space, walking through a room. So for instance, if you're driving a car, does it feel like you're in the driver's seat operating the vehicle that's moving through a three-dimensional external environment? Or is it sort of all one thing? The car is driving itself. The environment, car, body are all seamlessly functioning, but they don't even feel like separate objects in concert with one another. It's just one appearance arising as it is. One sort of kaleidoscope of textures and sounds and colors and sensations and movement, self-responding, without any specific location. It's sort of here and there at the same time. Here and there really do lose meaning with this. It's something you feel as well, which is sort of hard to talk about, but it's an instinct. It's not something you're thinking about. In fact, the way the thoughts work, you can see that they make it appear as if it's separate. But instinctually or directly, the felt experience, the intuited, very obvious knowing is that that's just an overlay. That I'm just as much that can of soda across the room or the picture on the wall as I am this over here that's aware of it. The here and there aren't actual experiences. They are like post-processing. And what's just the case, this sort of one doing, one appearing, or one appearance appearing as all appearances, that's what's happening. That's what's always happening. It's the only thing that could be happening. But understand, this isn't conceptual, and it's not even non-conceptual. It's not a negation of concepts. It's immediately obvious, and it's intimate. The key is intimacy. And with this, the sense of nihilism or dryness or a sort of non-intimate emptiness really goes away largely, because you just sort of enmeshed with everything directly. Now, sometimes when this flips over, it can feel surprising. It can feel almost like too much because you can't get out of it, but you realize that it was always like this, and over time you definitely adjust to it. Other times it just feels really natural, or like a relief from the constant grabbing onto thoughts to try to reconstruct a reality that's dualistic, that's just not accurate. So you can have various responses to this, but it should be pretty obvious when this clarifies. So that's the second area I would look in if you feel like you're not sure where to look, if this thing is completed itself, but you don't feel that intimacy. You don't feel that interconnection with the seeming objects around you, the textures, the sounds, the colors. So there are various ways to approach this. The non-dual playlist has a lot of them. Working with sound, with sensation to start, and then working in the visual field. Looking at what simply appears and just asking yourself, where's the distance? Where's space? Where am I actually experiencing space? Where am I actually experiencing separation? Where does me, as I'm perceiving myself, turn into that which I'm in visual contact with? These aren't conceptual questions, by the way. If you're up in your head about this, then you got to go back a few steps. But if you get what I'm saying, and you can investigate directly the visual experience, asking these questions and feeling your way along, really looking, where is the information coming from? Is it coming from the visual field, or is it coming from my mind? Is it coming from the recoil back into the internal world that overlays a sense of self and other onto the visual experience? When I'm walking, are the trees and cars and houses and sky moving toward me, or am I moving toward them? Where am I getting the data in my visual experience that says that? Is it there, Can you find anything? And if you see that there's no data that says I'm moving toward a tree or a tree is moving toward me, then is anything moving toward anything? The next part of that is, well, then where's the dividing line between the tree and me? Where's me? Where's the body? If you're looking out at a tree, where's the actual body? It's only in the mind. You see how that works? So these are the kind of investigations, but again, I have a playlist on this that goes into a lot of different ways to approach it. So those are the two areas I would look in post-awakening if you've done a significant amount of shadow work and you're wondering where to look next. Look into the subject-object experience and look into reactivity and equanimity.